Hello, Tarot Tube. I did a tag a couple of days ago that was definitely a Valentine theme called hashtag Deck Crush. Then I saw another video that Candy Soul and Soil put up, and I'm going to link both of those at the end, and as well as put them in the description. And as I'm sort of thinking about this whole time of year, February, I'm thinking that I wanted to say something a little more authentic to my personal experiences. And that is, honey, I have been through it. I can talk to you about heartache. I can talk to you about recovering and being resilient and being strong. And I wanted to share some decks that I believe touch on some of the key elements that are related to our work when we're recovering, dealing with heartbreak. All right, first, actually they're not in any really clear order, but there are some themes. So let me just pull them to the side here and say that first thing I wanted to talk about was just, you've got to be strong, right? Okay, we're going to zoom in so we can see some cards a little bit better. And I'm trying to stay with decks that are available so that if you feel so moved and you would like to choose one, you can have one. Although there are plenty of other decks that address each of these issues. But the first one I wanted to talk about was personal fortitude, inner strength. And two decks that I think do a great job with this are the Way of the Panda and the Bad Bitches Tarot. So I'm going to just look at some of these cards side by side. Whoops, I slapped that book down kind of hard. If you decide you want to go with the Way of the Panda, I do suggest, this is the mini, and it has a book, an associated book called The Book of Pandas, that's really nice, and it just talks a lot about being strong. So I'm just gonna, so you could just see some of these images. Let me see if I can get a little bit closer. So what's the point of both of these decks? The point of both of these decks, in their own unique ways, is they're asking you to be strong and to get really in touch with your inner strength and your place in the world and how you're going to be relating to other people, and how it lets you sort of work through some of the experiences that you have had from a place of inner strength. And it gives you the opportunity to think about, moving forward, not giving up, but moving forward, and knowing that there's still happy relationships to be had in your life. It's not all one kind of relationship. I particularly like the Way of the Panda for different kinds of relationships, and this one, obviously Bad Bitches, is going to be focusing on female relationships and female community. So, but both of these I think really help you to get in touch with your strong side. Being strong is a key component of being resilient after all. So, all right, let me put those to the side. There's going to be a big cleanup after this one. Now, I also think that one of the key components to recovering from heartbreak or dealing with heartbreak is keeping up a good sense of humor about the whole thing. I mean, listen, heartbreak often incorporates a good deal of trauma. No joke, some real trauma. So I'm not making light of that, but what I am saying is, even when things are kind of creepy and bizarre and weird and unhappy making, you can still look and see what's good here. Is there anything in here that can kind of just make me smile despite the fact that it's not a good situation that I'm in? And it's like it broadens your horizons. It keeps you looking out and not, what do I want to say? Not thinking that only one thing is happening, right? Like, is this kind of a bad deal? That is a vampire, right? but there's more. There's more. And let's not forget that there is more. So this deck is called the Cute and Creepy Tarot, and there is also a Cute and Creepy Oracle now, which I do not have, but this is the guidebook, companion guide for that, which is also a little bit of a coloring book, which I thought I would color a lot, but I've only colored a little. Anyway, kind of keeping a little bit of a sense of humor about that. And along with that one, let me pull another one that I didn't have in the pile here. Another one that kind of touches on this is the Zombie Tarot, which makes me smile, but as Candy said in her video, it also illustrates, especially if being gaslit or lied to or betrayed was a part of what happened to you. You know, this is like, well, there's one thing we see and then there's this other thing that's actually happening, right? So it's all very complicated. And but this makes me smile. It makes a lot of people smile, and I think that that's interesting and a useful thing to have for yourself. Is can you smile despite the bizarreness of all of this? Then I think there is a need to just have your mantras, have your affirmations, things that you say to yourself. Like, through the worst of some of my down periods, every day I would get up and I would write, things will change. Things will change, because it's true. Things will change. Are you having a bad day? Well, tomorrow might be a good day. Are you having a good day? Well, tomorrow might not be good, so I better appreciate what's going on now. And these cards I found very useful. Boy, they're all mixed up. It's a crazy box. They're always falling out of the box. Because they just give you something affirmative to read and think about every day. You could just pull one of these. I didn't even pull them at random. Excuse me. I just put them in a stack and took the one from the top, so I was getting different things every day, because I felt like the more good ideas I have floating around in my head, the better it is. I remember that was one of the things I thought about. It's like, I've had so many negative messages. I just want to slam more positive messages in there than negative messages. I don't care what they are, if they're relevant or not. I just want a lot of positive voices swimming in my head. And this was another deck that let me do this. Very old deck. This is a Louise Hay deck called the Power Thought Cards. And they're two-sided. And they just have all these power thoughts. You know, if you believe your words and your thoughts are magical, then having tools like this to help you heal, that's powerful, right? So it's a really well-named deck, the Power Thought Cards. And this is another deck that I find extremely helpful when I'm trying to get through something. All right. Now, another subject that kind of came up for me was feeling disconnected. You know, when you go through a breakup or something, you can feel separate, alone, maybe a little lonely, right? So I also used decks that helped me to feel connected. One thing I did was ancestral work. And ancestral work, I know a lot of people feel it can be very traumatizing, especially if you have trauma in your family line. And honestly, who doesn't? But you can pick and choose, you know, who you talk to and who you work with. You can set your intentions, and you can mindfully seek out the strong, good people in your family. You can use ancestral work to work through some of the trauma that you experienced, which probably led to you getting involved in a relationship that ended in heartbreak in the first place. It's not easy, and I'm not going to say just pick it up and do it lightly. And, you know, therapy could be appropriate. But yes, ancestral work helped me feel connected to some of the stronger personalities in my family, but also helped me to understand some of the other more troubling personalities in my family. Now, here's another deck that you're going to think, what does this have to do with anything? So this is the Mermaid deck. Whoops. This is the Mermaid deck that Lisa Robertson did. And this book just came out, and I won it. I'm very excited. I won this book. I really felt like it was meant to be. But it comes with a fabulous, the deck comes with a fabulous book too, the Mermaid Tarot. And because water is an element that I find soothing, comforting, healing, this deck, it was very soothing and comforting to me. I felt like I could connect to people and personalities when I was working with this deck. And it was a very good, positive experience for me. So I have a lot of good experiences with this deck. Really looking forward to working with the book. You can look forward to a video on that. So this deck, I guess, I think it was the water element, but also sort of the magical connection here too. They helped me get it more in touch with my personal power. Right, put that to the side. So many things. The things. Where are we next? Okay. Sometimes we just have to name it, right? If you're going to reclaim yourself, you just have to name what's happening. You can't ignore it. Ignoring it just means it lasts longer. That's my experience. So 2 decks that help me with that are the Reclaim Oracle, and this is very powerful, this deck. Whoops, let me flip it around. So it's got a good guidebook. It's a small guidebook, but good. And the creator of this deck, here she is. It's the Little Darkness Press, Marion. She's done several things since this deck. So stuff to help you work through reclaiming your feelings and being clear on what you're feeling and how it's affecting you. So it's a really good resource, not just for heartbreak, but for any kind of emotional literacy work. And it does kind of force you sometimes to look at things that maybe you hadn't been paying attention to, that you might pay attention to. And then there's this book, which was created during COVID, when I guess we all got to experience some level of heartbreak, right? I think it's gorgeous. I just love it. It's a Lucy Cavendish deck, art by Dan May. And these images, I just think, say it all when it comes to, just being alone. And isn't that, what happens when you have heartbreak? Like, you may have heartbreak, but, try to remember these kinds of things too, right? It's not all one thing. I think that's the problem with when your heart is broken, is you think it's all one thing. So you have to make the effort to understand that it's many things. It's many, many things. And that you can make connection, actually, in the middle of heartbreak. So put that one to the side. Another one that I like, this is going to be kind of crazy, and I've got 3 of these side quest decks, but they're also like a self-care deck. Like this one also does stuff like this. So you pull a card from the deck like this, and it gives you an idea. Just go do this thing. Just go do this thing, which when you're just feeling bad, sometimes you can just be sitting there. It's like, no, go color for 10 minutes. Make yourself a special drink. Purge a collar. These are things to say, take action because if we just sit and do nothing, things are not going to get better. They're just going to stay exactly the same. That's not what we want, right? So this is another great way to do it. So this is the side quest deck from the Hero's Journal. There are 3 side quest decks. That's just one of them. And then this is a classic. Lots of people like this deck, this self-care deck by Cheryl Richardson. And the colors alone are sort of soothing and beautiful. Let's put that to the side. And I have one more deck that I wanted to talk about, and then we're done. But if you've made it to the very end, don't give up yet, because I'm going to do a quick reading. We'll pull a card for the community. All right, this is very personal, and I think that I'm just going to tell you the idea and why it works for me, and I bet that there's something that's similar but not the same for you, right? So I really enjoy any kind of world building around a magical school. Harry Potter obviously is the big one, but you know, there are dozens. That's not the only one, y'all. It's just the most well-known. It's not the first, won't be the last. So the Witchling Academy is one of these, but it's girls. It's a girls' school, although there are a few male characters in here. And it let me sink into a story in which, well, it's the appeal that all magical stories have for people. What if I could go to this school and I had all these magical abilities and I could do all these things and have all these wonderful adventures? And is it escapism? Yes, it is. How is this so mixed up? But it's also magical, and it helps every time I use it, actually. It helps me to sort of just get in touch with my own magical self in this kind of inner child nurturing way, because this is, you know, it's about a child. It's a child. So this lets me do actually a little bit of adventurous inner child work, and I like it for that reason, and just because it's sort of a fantastic story and a building a world. And when you are in a heartbreak place and you are actually having to rebuild your world, right? You're rebuilding your world without whatever it was that broke your heart, and doing it with something like this, it's sort of practice, a little bit of practice, low stakes practice. So that's kind of fun too. All right, you made it to the end. So that means we're going to pull a side quest for all of us. I'm going to do this off camera. Yep. So I'm just going to pull a card for all of us and say that, you know, you're never alone. Even in heartbreak, you're not alone. So almost everybody's had some level of heartbreak. You've got community all the time, and don't forget that, and don't forget to reach out and ask for help if you need it. All right, here we go. A little bit of side quest for us. I know what I'll do. I'll say, okay, you look at these 3, and I'm going to turn all of them. That way you have a choice of which one spoke to you. And then I'll just leave this. You can freeze the frame and read it if you like. Okay, so the first one was spend 5 minutes alone, and the quote is, "We wait, starving for moments of high magic to inspire us, but life is full of common enchantment, waiting for our alchemist eyes to notice." Take a Morty. All right, so that was the first card if you picked that one. If you picked the second card, you got light a candle. And this is a Dumbledore quote, "But you know, happiness can be found even in the darkest of times if one only remembers to turn on the light." Albus Dumbledore. And if you picked the third one, you got brew a special drink. Real magic can never be made by offering someone else's... Wait, what did that say? Yes. Okay, that's correct. Real magic can never be made by offering someone else's liver. You must tear out your own and not expect to get it back. Peter S. Beagle. I don't know what that's from. Please don't tear out your liver. Okay, there you go. If you got that one, just brew a special drink without your liver, but make it for yourself. All right, that's it. And see, I'm laughing, even though when I decided to make this video, I was in touch with, some of the sadness that I've had in my life because it does come up at this time of year. All right, y'all, be well, take care, and just keep on trucking, babe.